Wonderful relationships might be the true measure of real magic for many of us. Our interactions with other people have a tremendous impact on our lives. In this session, you'll discover that creating magical relationships, once again, requires a major shift in beliefs and perceptions.
The first question you have to answer is, where are my relationships? Sounds strange. Where are my relationships located? Now, if you're married, you'll probably say, in my spouse. If you have children, you'll say, well, it's in my relationship to my children. And in your business relationships, you'll say, well, it's in the co-workers and the people that I work with. But that's not the answer. And until you get the answer, you're not going to be able to transform all of your relationships in your life. If you understand a very simple premise, that who you are is what you think about, and that this physical body that you're in is a manifestation of the thoughts that you have used in your life, and that you have created this physical body and these physical relationships with that, you'll see that about 99% of who you are, as I talked about in the Transformation Tape series, 99% of who you are is invisible. And 1% is this form that you find yourself located in. So if 99% of who you are is thought, that everything that has ever happened to you in the past is thought, everything that's ever going to happen to you in the future is all just thought, even that which is happening to you now is thought. And if you understand that what you think about is what expands, then your physical world is what you have thought about. Things in the physical world have come from the thoughts that you have had. The answer to where your relationships are located is within you. If what you think about is what expands, and in your relationships you're thinking about what is missing, or what is wrong, or what you don't like, or what deficiencies someone else has, that will be your experience of that relationship. You see, you can't get behind the eyeballs of any other human being and be them physically. You can't be your husband or your wife or your children or your co-workers or the strangers. And you can't physically be them. So all you have to experience them with is your thoughts. You can't experience them with your liver and with your duodenum. You can't experience them with your physicalness. You experience them with your mind. And if your mind creates your reality and what you think about is what expands, you have to say to yourself, the quality of my relationships is not in how other people act towards me or what they are like or who they are in the world. The quality of my relationships is exclusively in how I choose to process them. That's all you have to experience relationships with. All right? So once you get that you are the determiner of what your relationships are like, you stop assessing other people in terms of what you don't want to expand. If you want what is missing to expand, then think about what is missing in the people that you're in a relationship with. If you want what you don't like about somebody to expand, then think about that, because that's the only way you can get that into your life. So what you want to do is shift that and see other people as who they are on the path that they're on, and behaving in the ways that they are supposed to according to some divine plan that you are just a part of. You're a character in God's dream, and so is that other person a character in God's dream. And it's like in your dream, if someone wakes you up and you say, why was that character in my dream, and why did I have that person in my dream? You don't get mad at that person for being in your dream. You put them there. You created those characters in your dream. So in this dream, this 100-year dream that you're in, you take responsibility for putting all the characters that are there. And you understand that how you process them is how you will experience them in your life. Now you start getting real careful about what you think about. That is, if you want to stay in a relationship with someone, and certainly you want to stay in a relationship with your children, then you start to process them not in terms of what's wrong with them or what's deficient about them or what you don't like about them, but in terms of how great they are and how wonderful they are and how much gratitude you have for having them in your life, and those things which don't mix with what you would like for them to have. You don't focus on how wrong it is, but instead on the opposite of that is you focus on what you are for rather than what you are against. You are for them transcending those things. You are for them being polite. You are not against them being impolite. You are for them being polite. And you are for them having manners, and you are for them doing well in school. And you work your whole relationship based on what you are for rather than what you are against. So you are the determiner of what your relationship is. And if you are having difficulty in your relationships, it is not because of who other people are or what they are. It's because you are processing them in that way. You take responsibility for it. So the question you have to ask yourself is, how have I been choosing to perceive other people? Particularly in marriage or lover relationships, you really want to shift to, what was it that I fell in love with? What is it about this person that I love? What is it that I value? And I want to shift other things around in that relationship to make it a miraculous one rather than one that is always filled with contentiousness and anger and hostility and conflict and these kinds of things. The only way that you can get that out of your relationships is to stop processing it that way and not to be blaming other people for the way they are. Now, if you want your relationship to work at the highest level, all of your relationships to work at the highest level, then you have to do what I talked about earlier on these tapes. You have to get your entire life to purpose. You have to understand that everything in this universe is on purpose. So is this relationship that has come into your life. And many relationships will come in and out of your life. Some will play very minor roles. Some will play very major roles. Some will stay there for 50 years. Some will stay there for 50 minutes. Some will stay there for 10 years. Some will pass on. All of that is in divine order. I'm not here saying that you should stay in every relationship that you've ever been in. The length of it will depend upon what you feel is appropriate and what the other person feels is appropriate. But if you want your relationships to work at the highest loving level, at the magical, at the real magic level, then you have to look at some of the specific ingredients for making that happen. And you want to get your relationship on purpose. What is purpose? Purpose is always about giving. Purpose is never about getting, because you cannot get anything while you are here. You can't own anything. You can't have anything. You come in naked with nothing. You leave naked with nothing. And you've got to keep that in mind. So purpose in your relationships, first and foremost, is about giving. How may I serve? All right? And ingredients of relationships on purpose are these. First and foremost, giving is the key ingredient. How can I give? Secondly, love and giving are synonymous. That I don't have any expectations, that you please me. When you fall in love with someone, you fall in love with them for what they are. And you don't want to alter that. You don't want to shift that around. You don't want to change that. You don't wish that they looked differently. You don't wish that they were something else. You fall in love with what you love for what they are. And you keep that in mind. Then you get yourself off of judgment in your relationships. That is, you understand this simple, basic premise. When you judge another person, you do not define them with your judgments. You define yourself as someone who needs to judge. If you can get off of judgment and get on to giving and understand that loving is really synonymous with, I have no expectations for you. I accept you where you are, and I am focused on what it is that I love about you. And that's where my mental energy goes, on what I like about you, not what I dislike about you. Then for me, the person who is in the relationship, where the relationship is located, for me, what will expand is what I like and what I love. If what you don't like is expanding, it isn't because they're behaving that way. It's because that's what you're choosing to focus on in the relationship. It's amazing how quickly you can turn around a relationship and make it fabulously magical by simply no longer processing that which you don't like. It's almost like you send out of your life those things which are causing you difficulty, not by having other people change, but by having you change. The other ingredients of relationships on purpose are these. You stop with your insistence on making somebody else wrong and making yourself right. A relationship on purpose has nothing to do with right and wrong. Your husband, your wife, your children, your co-workers, these are people who are on their own path. There's no right and wrong involved in this relationship business. So that if you could just learn somehow to suspend your need to make somebody wrong and to make yourself right, if you could just suspend that And in your discussions and in your contacts with each other, no longer need to say, I am right. I remember I was just on an airplane the other day,